Thanks for joining us today. We have a bunch of other Greenleaf folks listening in here, and we have a great conversation with Mr. Brent Sobol here, who has been in the real estate game for a long time, and everything from the ownership side to, I would say, very hands-on property manager, and ultimately started a nonprofit around his apartment community and has taken that essentially internationally at this point. So Brent, welcome. Thank you for taking some time out to talk about your journey here and meet with the other people at Greenleaf here. So we appreciate it.
Thank you. I thought I signed up for beer and bankers. Am I at the wrong?
That was another good event.
Okay.
No beer on this one though. This is the remote happy hour.
Great. No, I think it's great the programming you do in addition to your core business.
So yeah, we're always, there's a lot we can do to have an impact in the communities that we operate in. So, and you certainly exemplify that of what you've done over the years. So why don't you give us a little bit of background for everyone too, just on where you started with this and how Shamrock Gardens came to be. We toured that a couple of times and it was pretty incredible what you built there.
Well, thanks. I don't like talking too much about myself. I like a lot of question and answer, but at a high level, I started being a property manager in college in my fraternity house. And I realized that if I had to clean up after all those weekends, I could manage anything. And that has pretty much been true. So I got into low income housing because it was cheap to get into. And I felt like it was less risky than trying to build or be involved with new stuff. And it ended up proving to be a very lucrative career for me, but more than the money, it affected my spirit and my soul, where I felt compelled just to try to be a good human being, a good American, and take care of people that don't have a lot of money and as it relates to their housing. And so I implemented a whole lot of different approaches and strategies around management. I mean, some people would say I was crazy, but when people would see the outcomes, there was no refuting that there was crazy. And they also say there's a fine line between crazy and genius. But and then I did a lot of talking and speaking on the National Apartment Association circuit, and even locally here with the Georgia Real Estate Investors Association, because I believe that my methodologies were good and needed to be shared. I never charged anybody for any of my stuff, unlike a lot of the guru guys that get rich off selling seminars. But you asked about what we did at Shamrock. That was really my flagship property. Most people associate me with that, but I actually had a handful of others that I had owned and or been very involved with that all had similar outcomes. But the situation there was, it was crime. And it really made it unprofitable, difficult to manage, difficult by every measure. And so I realized that if we didn't get crime under control, it wouldn't be a stable performing property. And we did, after implementing a lot of tactical techniques, and it's still doing okay today, but I owned it for 13 years. We added a daycare. We had a community garden. We had an orchard. We would have monthly resident engagement meetings. We would do intervention walks weekly with apartments where we felt they were having difficulty or struggling or complying with the lease. We worked with people on payment. We worked with 20 different agencies to help people thrive there. And what was interesting to me is that, we talk a lot about mixed use communities, and this was a true mixed use community because we had some people making 50, 60, 70,000 a year. And then we had other people getting 100% of their life funded by departments of the government, and everybody got along.
Yeah. I think
I got out of it in 2019 though, because I got a little burnt out. And I needed a switch, and needed some time to figure out what the next great leap forward is. And I believe I found it with my involvement in the charity that I created, Legacy Community Housing Corporation, or Legacy. We hope to create positive legacies in the places that we go. And I can tell you all about what we're doing with Legacy if you'd like.
Yeah, certainly. So that legacy came out of ownership of your apartments, correct? Like you owned the apartments for a while, and that essentially eventually funded some of the nonprofit work that you're doing right now.
Yes, the people always ask me when I tell them I run a charity, is where'd you get your money to start it? Because I would like to start one too. And I think that's a hard question for most people. We were fortunate in that we had windfall profits from the sale of Shamrock Gardens, and that funded the charity to about $7 million. So, and I don't say that to brag. It's just, it's a factual number that's available publicly because of your reporting requirements to the IRS. And so, and it gives people a sense of what our scope is. So my job now is to invest and grow that endowment so that it lives well beyond me, and to give charity to the tune of about $150,000 a year, direct charity. And we've been giving that to anywhere from 40 to 70 different people or organizations. We have people say, well, what are you funding? Well, we fund things that are more grassroots, things that tend not to get funded by the United Ways or Salvation Armies of the world. And we like issues that focus on poverty, children, mental health, and education, as well as some Christian ministry, because I am a Christian and my board is all Christian. And while we are not a Christian organization per se, we just all follow the Christian ethic of giving and doing unto others as you'd have done unto you.
Yeah, that's pretty fantastic on how you're looking at this stuff. And I really like the fact that when you're going at smaller amounts or a lot of distributions to a wide range of people, you're getting stuff that out there that is typically harder to reach versus a United Way that's got, arguably, I mean, they have a huge impact, but it's mostly bigger dollar stuff that they're going after, bigger, commitments that they're distributing.
And the barriers to entry are just larger for some nonprofits, and it's hard to comply to get those funds.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're being pretty conservative on your distributions versus the total, net asset value of the foundation. Some people might say like, hey, you have all this money on this, how much do you give out per year? How do you kind of look at where you're trying to make an impact? And also knowing that you want this to be, more than a 1-year thing. It's a long-term vision.
Well, it's an excellent strategic question that my board and I have discussed a lot over the last few years, because there's an argument that says, hey, you got all this money, give it out now and just help people today so that the suffering doesn't continue. But we feel that if our money grows over time because of the compounding effect of interest, and we invest wisely, then we'll have many, many, many millions of dollars, 20, 30, 40 million dollars. And so we can be very consistent with our giving, and this organization can outlive us. The one thing we do at our age, I'm 47. My hope is that someone will take over for this when I'm real old, and then there's enough money there for them to make an impact in what matters at that point in time. That's a great question.
Yeah. So you just got back from Africa on quite a trip that you went on with the foundation and working on some of this giving. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how did you even find out about the opportunities over there, or the people that you worked with over there?
Yeah, well, it's kind of an interesting story. I had a friend here in Orlando, and by the way, Orlando has a whole lot of nonprofit activity here. So it's been a great place for me to live. I moved from Atlanta, from Buckhead, but I met a woman and she said, I know this guy he's Cameroonian. He goes to Cameroon a few times a year. He's an IT project manager for the state of Pennsylvania. And he gives to missions, or he gives to orphanages. And he also, his passion is basketball, and he holds a basketball camp in remote villages of the country where they don't know anything about basketball. That's not a sport. I mean, they see a little bit about the NBA, but there aren't courts around. It's not played in school. So that's his passion. And I had been giving him, he's one of those organizations that is gritty and small, and we've been funding him for a while. And then one of the things I've started doing lately is contacting our charities and saying, can I come out and have a site visit and see what you're doing? And he said, sure. So he arranged myself and my girlfriend, Mara, who you'll see her in a couple of pictures here, a wonderful, humble heart servant. And so he laid it all out.
Wow.
I would not have gone to this country had I not had a handler. And I'll show you a picture of this guy. He looks like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. So nobody is messing with this guy. And when I got there, I realized why you needed a guide or handler, because this is not a tourism country. People don't go here for tourism. There aren't a lot of beaches. There aren't a lot of, historical sites. So we were very rare there, and everybody always wanted to know why we were there. In the entire week, we did not meet another American. Wow. And we only met a few white people, and they were French, because the country was a French colony. And by the way, almost everyone there speaks French and no one speaks English. So we had to have a translator as well. So this was really adventure travel. And then while we were with Yannick, we went to 2 orphanages and two of his basketball camps. And we gave cash to those people that were running those things so that they can continue to do what they're doing.
Yeah. So this individual, Yannick, I mean, he has a job in the U.S., works for the state of Pennsylvania, and on the side is also running basketball camps on another continent.
Yeah, it's his passion.
That is impressive. Some of us, I think about, man, I've got to take my 3 kids around and I feel like I'm busy, let alone running a summer camp in another continent.
And he's got 2 kids too.
Wow, that is impressive. Well, you want to show some of the pictures here of what your trip was? You want me to share this video real quick of the orphanage stuff? Yeah.
Let's show this video, because I think you can get audio on your end, whereas on mine I can't get the audio. And just to set this thing up, this was on the second day we were in Cameroon. We flew, there's 2 major cities, Yaoundé and Douala. They each have about 2 million people. The country has 27 million people. About a third are at poverty or really close to it. And Yannick took us to the Trinity Orphanage. And what you're going to see here is the orphan leader named Miss Odette share an invitation to us to come and visit her orphanage. And she gets very few Western visitors. This orphanage gets no money from the government. It's all donations.
Wow. How many kids are at the orphanage?
40, and they're at capacity. There's 1 adult for 40 children. Then you'll get to see that these are younger kids.
Yeah. All right, let me bring this up here real quick.
Hello, welcome to the Trinity Foundation. This is Pastor Odette for the Trinity Foundation, where we evangelize, we train people who want to serve the Lord. We run an orphanage, a women's shelter. We just take care of the vulnerable people in society. We have been here for the past 5 years as an orphanage, as you can see. And today we want to thank everybody standing with us, especially Blossom Youth with Papa Yannick. Thank you for your love and support, for all that you have provided for this house. Together with you, we have been able to shelter, feed, sponsor children, and all the material items that you have brought: TV, screen, fridge, fans, clothes, toothbrush, toothpaste, all of those things that you have been helping us with. Thank you very much. We are looking forward to having a land of our own. We are praying God to provide, to help us. So we are still in the fundraising for that, to have a piece of land where we can build an orphanage or extend this building so that we can take more children. And we are still counting on you for your support, of course, to shelter, because for now we are still on rent, shelter, feeding, clothing, school fees, education, and all of that. So thank you very much for standing with us. God bless you. God bless you. Happy New Year. And we love you very much. Hello, children. Can you say
Yeah, that's so Odette's got 40 kids that she's looking after there.
She does.
How big of a orphanage, I mean, physical size are all 40 kids living in?
I would say maybe 1,800 square feet. There'll be 2 or 3 children to a bed. The beds don't have sheets, so there's urine or stains on the mattresses. The children have no toys.
Wow. I mean, the littlest child that was right with her there, when he was still sucking his thumb, he looked like he was maybe 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah. Can
3 years old.
Can I share the screen here and show
Yeah.
you some okay, so this is what the orphanage looks like. And when I got out of the car, now, by the way, to get to this place, we went on a dirt road. This is the road to the orphanage, and this is how the streets are in the major cities. And I mean, I didn't even think the car was going to be able to traverse this, but it did. And this is the entrance. And this is about a minute. There's audio for me. No, it's 20 seconds. There's audio for me, but I don't think there's audio for you.
It's not much of a road. Actually feels very safe, but it's our host.
There's the Rock. Kept us safe. Nobody messes with him. Tallest guy in the whole country.
This is the orphanage.
But he found this place and he's adopted it, and he brings good things to this place. Now look at what their moniker here says. Welcome to the Trinity Foundation International. Our motto is love, unity, and peace. And they rely very heavily on Christian principles. We prayed with them. The children came to us, just hugged on us, loved having us around. Oh no, this is pretty gross. This is the one bathroom for the whole place. And let's see if I can play. Yeah, that's the kitchen. Now it's gross to us, but to them, that's actually not that bad, because we ended up seeing a lot of other places.
Right.
And the meal is rice with dried fish and eggs. This is the dining room, and you can see where the rice is served. We brought them 50. Before we went to the store and got them $50 worth of rice. That will feed this orphanage for a month and a half, 3 meals a day. $50 of rice. And what do we do with $50? But look what they're doing. So this is us giving out rubber duckies. We bought some things on Amazon that were in bulk that we could carry, didn't weigh a lot. And so that everybody had a toy. And here we also brought them Airheads candy, American candy. So they got to experience that. It became clear to us that many people we met had never seen a white person or an American. There's Twizzlers.
Yeah. How far out? How long did it take you to drive here? When you landed, from what city did you leave?
Yeah, so from Yaoundé, it was a 5-hour drive to get to Douala. According to Miss Odette, there's 500 orphanages like this in Cameroon.
And so you went to multiple orphanages?
We went to 2.
Yeah.
We were supposed to go to 3, but we couldn't get into the third one. There was a scheduling problem. But this was at the end of the night, and you can just see that there's a lot of joy here. Mara and I were struck by how happy the children and the people are, despite being in total poverty, not having parents, being living uncomfortably by our standards, but they just love each other. And I asked Miss Odette, I said, Miss Odette, why are these kids so happy? And she goes, because they love God. And then I said, why, who do you tell them their parents are? Because eventually they ask, And she said, I tell them their parents are Jesus and Mary. And I just thought, whoa, this is heavy on my,
They look like they're having a good time here. So are they going to school as
Yes.
well?
So they get this, and it's a crazy country. You have to pay to go to school. So each of these kids costs about $70 US a year just to attend the school. So one of the things she was asking for was 5,000, which would pay for, well, 4,000, which would relieve the burden of all these kids having to pay for that. So what Mara and I are going to start doing is fundraising for this place, have a GoFundMe page. I would hope that Greenleaf Foundation would consider a donation to this, because we can guarantee that the money's going to the right place. There's no administrative holdback or anything.
There's only
dollar matters here.
Does the debt have any help, or is it really just? I mean, this is one person tackling the responsibility and job of raising 40 kids.
Well, you can see there's some teenagers and early 20s people. There's about 4 that somehow have come to her and they assist her, but no one speaks English. This was really cute. The rubber duckies. They didn't know what a rubber ducky was, so they called it a little bird. So
that's accurate. Yeah. Right. That's accurate.
They all were very curiously holding their little bird.
Yeah.
So here's a toy we gave. Yeah. We gave some American French books. So this is just the first orphanage. Yeah. That's that street at night, man. I mean, look at that. There is that song by U2 when we were growing up where the streets have no name. I didn't know what that meant until I came to Cameroon. This is a street that has no name.
Yeah. What all your experience at that orphanage and your time with Odette and those kids, what was probably the most surprising thing that you noticed when you were there?
The love of children.
Yeah, that's excellent. How long has Odette been running the orphanage?
5 years.
5 years.
So this is what the streetscape looks like. Okay. It's like this for as far as the eye can see. There's no Kroger or Publix here or Target. You go to these little umbrellas and get your stuff to live, and everybody knows where what it is they need is sold. It's just incredible. And then you have, but we also noticed, we're all real estate people here, about half the buildings are just unbuilt.
Yeah, you can see all this. I mean, they're still using like, I don't know if that's bamboo scaffolding, but wooden scaffolding that they're building.
I mean, you can even see some of the unbuilt buildings in the background here. And yeah, you can see some of the unbuilt. They're just unbuilt.
And
we don't know why.
Most of the construction over there, isn't most of it done by smaller groups of people? It's not necessarily you have like a big general contractor that's coming in and building the whole thing. They're building these predominantly
There's no
on multiple levels.
I mean, there's no tract building at all. There's no affordable housing communities. People are just sort of living in what they make. Now, this is interesting. People would walk with stuff on their head all the time. So this guy was selling shoes, and I bought a pair of New Balance shoes from him. And I was just fascinated by all the people that were selling things on their head.
Very entrepreneurial.
Surprises. So everybody lives off the fish, and they're just fishing all day long. And you go to these markets, and then they just cook it up for you 30 feet away. Wow. So this was a big surprise. These are prawns, shrimp, and they're like lobsters, and they're cheap and they're plentiful, and we would just eat them like crazy. And they just cook them. And you can see the joy in a lot of people's faces. Look at that.
So is this at a restaurant that's there, basically? I mean,
Yeah. A restaurant by the fish market. Now, I want to point something out here. I'm wearing my Cameroon garb today. This is their jersey. They're very proud of their soccer team. It's their national everything. And so I have that on.
Okay.
And I also have these bracelets. And if I were with you, I would let you choose one because we bought a whole bunch to support them. And then I just give them to people. And these are all handmade. And these are about $2 or $3 a piece. And they're really cool.
yeah. It is neat to see how entrepreneurial everything is, where you have everyone, out there trying to make it work.
This is interesting. People were doing this down the river and they used that sand to build structures.
Oh, wow. Are they using that sand for like building concrete?
Yeah. This is interesting. Every guard in the country, this is a law, has to wear a yellow uniform. So right away if someone's a guard or not.
Yeah.
I love birds, and there are just a whole lot of birds in this country. These are very unusual bird nests.
Oh, yeah. They're just the hanging nests.
Yeah, I just love them.
So what was the other orphanage you went to? Or how close is it to this location?
It's actually pretty close to here. I was supposed to go out on a boat and fish with these guys, but it stormed all day.
Ah. Are they fishing with, I mean, they're not fishing with a fishing tackle that we're thinking of, right?
They fish with nets,
Yeah.
which are often illegal in America. All right, I've got to show you this. So we went to a pygmy village. There's about 125,000 pygmies. They're not considered citizens. They live off the land, and they have for thousands of years. So we had to take a boat to get to them. And then this is what their living looks like. This man is the king of the tribe. So there's a protocol. You have to greet him and give him money. And then he dispatches someone to take you around the village. And this land is out in the middle of nowhere. Now, what's kind of unfortunate, they were showing us the leaves that you could eat that would help certain conditions like heart disease. And then the one guy looked at my head and said, yeah, this one's good for hair loss. And I was like, well, I need a jar of that. Do you think I can?
Yeah,
get
maybe you could bring
customs?
some back for me on that one too. It'll help.
But look at this. This is Aboriginal living. She's cooking like a grain of some kind, but that's the living. They're immune to mosquitoes. We would be bothered, but this is a true mud hut, and there's so many mud huts in the country. The children are adorable.
It was interesting. You said they're not citizens that are here. So they're not going to, I mean, they don't have a public education system that they're going to then, right?
No,
They don't have a healthcare.
They're their own group of people. I didn't even know this existed in our world. They hunt antelope and then they sell it with spears, and they sell it. Now look at this living condition here. This really freaked us out. The flies are everywhere. They're capturing the water to drink it. The sheets, I don't know that they've ever been washed. And everything is just nasty. And this is their living. They're perfectly fine with it. Just a stunner. Look at that mud hut.
Well, that one's finished and has walls, but yeah, that's surprising. So was this in between the two orphanages that you went to this village?
Yes. The Aboriginal. Now check this spear out. The guy pulls out of nowhere this badass spear that he wanted to show us how sharp it is. And look at these kids. Look at these girls. That's her only toy, and she wanted to show it to us.
So what city was the next village that you went to in? Or the next orphanage that you went to?
Creeby. That's Pastor Odette. She's the one that runs that orphanage. It just happened to be her birthday.
Huh.
This is what a nice little room looks like there. There's probably only 6 hotels in the whole country that look like this, because there's nothing to the Western standard. The demand is just not there.
Right. Well, yeah, if there's no real tourism.
Okay, so here's the second orphanage. It's called Children's Hope. And
In what city is this in?
it's still in Creeby. So in order to get here, this is another one where the streets have no name. You've got to traverse this long road into the jungle just to get to this place. And then this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Right here, they pump their water. And the wells are kind of dry right now. So there's not that much water for them to drink. Like apparently you have to pump this thing for a half hour before it starts putting some water out. So
that's a hand pump too. I mean, you're working to get that out of there.
Look at them right now. When we walked in, this one is more remote than the other one. And they're looking at us like, who are these people? I don't understand you. And they're very skeptical. And then after they were all summoned to sit down by Patricia, she's the leader of this orphanage. And again, it's 40 kids and she's the only adult. And by the way, she has a 2-year-old. She was nursing the 2-year-old while we were reading to the kids. People do so much there because they have to. So she got everybody singing, introduced us. And then and now look at the furniture here there's no books in this orphanage. I wanted to just deliver a whole bunch of books. When I go back, I'm going to bring books. But look at the couch here.
Yeah. So is this looks like their school that they're working at, that they're in?
Well, it's really not a school. This is the orphanage. It wasn't quite clear to me how much schooling they get because they're so remote. It's the one bathroom. One of the things I've noticed is that the toilets tend to not have seats. Pretty gross. So we were reading The Cat in the Hat to them in French and English, and they really liked that.
And they're all French speaking as well? The same.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah.
So we did some activities with them for a while. We prayed with them. And then they wanted to dance. They wanted to show us how they danced. They all know how to dance. They dance great.
Wow. And so Yannick from Pennsylvania, is he doing the basketball camp around the orphanage as well?
No, it's a separate charity mission. But this is great. Look at the kids. Look at the wonder on their rubber duckies. They wouldn't let them go.
The little birds.
The little birds. Little birds.
All right. And so how long were you at Eve?
Oh, you got to look at this. So this is what their living quarters look like. I was a little afraid that she wasn't going to let me in to see this, but I said, please let me, I need to show Americans this. But this is their kitchen. Look, there's no furniture really. This is their kitchen. There's flies everywhere. There's vegetables on the ground. I don't know if they're going to eat those or not. There was no electricity at this orphanage when we went. It was turned off, and I don't know why. But look at all the flies on the corn. It was just shocking. And then this room is the baby room. It had a really bad smell. And then this is the main room. So the girls are in one building and the boys are in another.
Yeah. So you've basically got 20 girls, 20 boys. They're each in their, one big room.
Yeah, but they'll all sleep in the same bed. So look how happy they are to show us their life.
And how long did you get to spend at each orphanage? Like, did you stay in town here or did you?
Yeah, we probably spent about 4 hours at each one to interact and offer.
Oh, they got Olaf on the wall.
Our fellowship. Now look at this. This is the bathroom. That's that was the showers over there, and then these are the toilets. what we wanted to do was just pay for somebody to come in and clean it professionally, but
Yeah.
we didn't know how to.
How? I think a lot of the challenges in Africa is how do you actually get stuff done?
Yeah. So, it's one of my favorite pictures. She's smiling, seeing us.
Yeah.
I have to tell you this story. So as we're leaving, this lady to the left brings these 3 kids and talk to Patricia. And she says, I don't have the money to support these children anymore. Will you take them, please? And Miss Patricia said, I'm full. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. And so this mom and these 3 children had to go. So we gave them some money. But I just thought, imagine that. I can't fathom that. I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I've been sharing these stories with her, and it's been really eye-opening.
Yeah, that's an impossible situation for a parent to be in.
These are the boats that every day they just go out. There's no motors, by the way. They just paddle out in the ocean, and then they use these nets. They catch a lot of stuff. And then just to the right here, you're going to see the market where they sell it. And then you're going to see the restaurant area where it's cooked.
Yeah, it's right there. Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's really delicious. We enjoyed the food.
So your whole trip through Cameroon, how long was this multi-site visit? So, I mean, you were at basketball camp, you went and you saw 2 orphanages. Oh yeah, there you go.
Now, this is really interesting. Yannick is connected to the president of the country. And the president has his own residential compound. And this was it. So he hosted this tournament, and it engaged about, 150 kids. And this was the final game. So you had dignitaries coming out. You notice we're the only white people here. So we get a lot of looks. Nothing.
So this is at the presidential compound?
Yeah, where the president lives. Yeah, or the village that he's from. Look at that.
Yeah.
So he can have his own soccer matches if he wants to.
Wow, the fish right there that he's taking to market. We're taking them home, I should say.
Oh, watch this. This is kind of cool. These dancers. These are, these aren't exactly spring chickens that are out there really cutting it up. And they did a great job. Very, very entertaining.
It's like the Savannah Bananas. They have the Savannah Nanas, I think, the grandma dancing group. It's pretty entertaining.
So Legacy paid for all these jerseys and all of the costs to produce this event, as well as 3 others.
Oh. Very cool. So, and you met all these through just these groups are all groups that you've donated to through Legacy, where they've, where you're financially assisting them in their mission. Right.
That's right.
Of the groups that were here, I mean, you mentioned you're donating or supporting, 50 to 70 organizations. How many of them are tied to Cameroon, or how many are tied to Africa versus all over the rest of parts of the world?
There's 2 that are tied to Africa, and I'm going to Zimbabwe and Zambia in July for 18 days with a different organization that's through a Catholic nun that started a business entrepreneurship program 20 years ago, where they make microloans to women with children so they can have a small business and be self-sufficient. Like a $10, $15, $20 micro loan can change a life. And I've been reading it and seeing it for years. And I finally said, I got to go with you, Sister Tony. I got to see this. So that's my next visit there.
All right, very cool. And that was started by a Catholic nun 20 years ago?
Right. Just an individual with a purpose, with a passion, just started making it happen.
Very cool.
It's kind of cool. We bought a basket while we were watching the guy make baskets. This is a great photo. This is the owner of the basket shop, and he just came out and he was real friendly. I said, "Can I take your picture?" Oh, this is,
Said, "Sure."
neat. So we have water plumbed to our house. They don't. There's water plumbed to one of these things, a spigot. And so that probably gives water to 50 homes. And then you have to go with a bucket. That's what that little cart is for. She can
Yeah,
carry
so
a
everyone's,
bucket.
they're going to go retrieve their water at each place. So this is very different. Was this your first time in Africa?
First time.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do this for my whole life, but I had a fear of doing it because of the news. And this is interesting. The U.S. State Department said, "Don't go here. They're kidnapping people." Right now, you can go to the State Department and look at the warning for Cameroon. It says they're kidnapping Americans. And I almost backed out, but I just trusted. I had faith. I said, "It's time. I got to do this. I got to help." So it worked out.
Yeah, it looks like you had an opposite experience of that, where everything was positive in your experience with interacting with everyone there.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
Yes.
another kind of interesting thing. There's no trash cans in this country. They burn it. So this is a hotel we stayed at, and they just collect it in a pile, and then this guy is the trash man, and he takes it to his home and burns it, and then uses the charred material for organic composting. There's no no waste management going around with a
Right.
dump truck picking up Kirby's. This is an example of I thought, oh, this would be good affordable housing if Andrew Ziffer was involved in overseeing the renovation and financing. I think he could make this deal work. I don't know that I could make this work, but Andrew, being a paragon,
Andrew could pull it off.
Andrew could probably pull this off.
He was a long time property manager. I mean, he did probably 10, 11 years he was doing it too.
Andrew was my student in my multifamily class. So I'm so proud of Andrew.
We all know
Hey,
Andrew pretty
I
well
wanna
here at
point out-
Greenleaf.
I got to show you this. Turkey. We transferred through Turkey. Look what the Turkish airport looks like. This is the most unbelievable airport I've ever seen in my life. And this goes on and on and on. You feel like you're in Disney World meets the Matrix. And there's all these high-end brands, and people are lining up to pay thousands of dollars for purses. And I just, I'd really like to explore the Middle East if I have some time, but Turkey looked pretty cool. I wanted to mention this about this charity that, I have about, for the folks on the call, I have about $600,000 invested with Greenleaf in, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 funds. And the money that you make, it's actually not my money, it's Legacy's money. So the money that you make and distribute along the way and at the end, that money goes to fund the nonprofit and these activities. So I'm grateful to Greenleaf for that opportunity to invest. And I want your team to know that they are working for a greater glory, and that these dollars that do get distributed go to meaningful places. So thank you very much. And I hope to do more in the future.
Yeah, I think seeing this is certainly helpful. It gives an idea of what else is out there, and like you're saying, where some of the proceeds are going that are generated from the investments that we've made that are then distributing back to our investors and back to you with Legacy here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of people that just want to use that money and buy bigger houses and boats and whatever. That's not where our money's going. I want you to do well so we can fund more stuff. Now, I don't know if I told you this. We spent the last 2 days in London because there's no direct American flights to Cameroon. So you've got to connect through somewhere. So it's about a 24-hour flight. So we connected through London because the King's coronation was the next day. And so we figured, oh, you know what, we'll just go there and see it. Plus, another charity that Legacy funds is the International Students House in London, which gives free room and board to minority students that apply to study in London. And we do 40 a year. This is a charity that was founded by the Queen Mother, and it continues on. But I'm involved in helping raise money for that from Americans who went through the program. And my connection with this organization is that in 1997, I was a student in London and I lived there.
Oh, wow.
I'm just really cool. There's a nice one right there. I like that one.
How long did you live in London for, going through this school here?
6 months. 6 months.
Yeah.
And
This is quite a difference going from an orphanage in Cameroon to the King's coronation in London.
Yes, we kept thinking that, Dave, the whole time.
It's
we had the king of the pygmies, you know. We've met two kings, or we've seen two kings in 1 week. How often does that happen?
Yeah, very, very different circumstances.
But I want to show you this, because safety and security has been one of the focuses of our charity over the years in my apartments. And there were more police at this event than I have seen in my entire life. They brought them in from all over the country to avoid a terrorist incident.
Yeah. Wow. So what would you say your whole trip here from
and here's everybody's got
this king to the other king? What's kind of like the craziest or most insightful experience that you had on this journey?
Well, yes, seeing the kids and feeling the children and reflecting back on your own childhood experience and realizing how different it is and how blessed we are to be born in America. It has made us extremely grateful.
Yeah.
More charitable.
And so you've already got your next trip planned to go back there. You said in July, you're going to go back. Is that what you said?
Well, I won't be going here. I'll be going to another part of the country to explore a different program.
Yeah.
But you know, I naively thought that there were orphanages were just a thing of the past. There were very few of them. They were government funded and structured. That they got really good care because they were orphans. And the reality is exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
I would really like to get a church to sponsor, or a religious organization to sponsor Odette's. And I'm going to work on that.
All right. So that's the next goal.
One of them.
You know, we love goals here at Greenleaf. So always finding things that can tie to what could be a goal long term. That sounds like a good one.
You have to set some goals, even if you adjust them along the way.
Cool. Okay.
That's the king and his carriage.
Wow.
It rained most of the time.
All right. Well, I'm going to check too if there's any other. I think we got a couple little questions here too, and see.
We'll end with this. This is the takeaway. Kindness always comes back. I would love to answer questions.
So, so one question here is, we touched base on this a little bit, but they're asking if Legacy focuses solely on international efforts, or are you still engaged with low-income communities around Atlanta or here in the U.S. as well?
Yeah, both and everywhere. We're opportunistic donors.
So
where the need is and where we can feel we can make a difference. Most of these opportunities to fund have just come to me personally. Like I've funded your charity. I paid for an Afghanistan refugee, and then you had a wonderful summer camp where you did activities with the kids, and then you sent me a birdhouse, and I still have it hanging in my backyard. I love it.
Excellent.
But what I would like to get back into affordable housing. However, the prices are just too high right now to make it worth
to make it work.
Yeah. And to not have the stress of default or not being able to provide the basic operations, because inflation is driving up the cost to maintain places like crazy. I'm working with a guy that has 370 units right now in near the Georgia Dome in Pittsburgh. And so legacy is still involved in this space, just not in the same way it was in the past.
Yeah. Okay. What about another question here is just, could you share just how do we get in contact with you or Legacy to provide some additional support here before you go on your next trip, or to those organizations that you're working with?
Well, I would love any of you who would like to give a donation and learn about either to Odette. If you want me to send it to Odette, I will send it to her and provide you the receipt or screenshot through MoneyGram. And then you'll know. I would love that. But it's through me. Just take down my cell phone. I've had the same cell phone for 26 years. It's
all right.
It's 404-275-2389. 404-275-2389. Just text me. And if you're interested in seeing about the microfinancing efforts in Zambia and Zimbabwe, I can send you a link to the website and you could check that out. And if you want to make a donation there, that would be lovely too. I think any amount helps here. $10, $20, $50. It helps.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. $50 bought a month and a half of rice for Odette's kids. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah. That's a different, you're impacting 40 lives for a month and a half. Cool. Okay. Well, Brent, I really appreciate the time here and appreciate you sharing your story with everyone here at Greenleaf of everything you saw. So it's an impressive effort, and it's coming full circle from working and turning around a bunch of apartment communities to turning it into a legacy that's going to last for decades going forward. So excited to see all the trips you have coming up and all the impact you're able to have here. Thank you for sharing the story.
Thanks a lot. And I would just end by encouraging your team to ask themselves, how can I make a difference today for somebody else? And you work for a company that has altruistic values. Most real estate people, I think, are sharkish. But you guys are making a difference with what you're doing. And how can you make a difference? Keep it going. You're doing some cool stuff. I'm proud to be an investor and a friend of those of you that I've met there.
Great. Well, thank you, Brent. And we're going to get you to come up for one of the next events that we do. If it's in person here, we'll let you know. So
I would love to.
But all right. Well, we'll talk soon, Brent. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
For more tips on operating and investing in real estate, please check us out at greenleafmanagement.com or find us on YouTube and Spotify.